Game-based learning across Europe, policies and implementation in mathematics within multilingual settings. This presentation has been prepared by Sarah Lister and Cristina Huertas-Abril from the University of Córdoba and GBL Surmont from VUB from Brussels in Belgium. This presentation is divided into 4 key parts. First, we will present a brief overview of GBL, of game-based learning, especially paying special attention to digital game-based learning. Then we will move to GBL and its connection with mathematics and multilingual settings. Then we will move to the analysis of GBL policies in different contexts, and we will finish this presentation with some initial conclusions after this preliminary piece of research. So first, game-based learning, GBL, let's define it. Well, focusing on DGBL, on digital game-based learning, G in 2005 said that good video games incorporate good learning principles supported by current research in cognitive science. So this is a general idea referring to the use of video games to support learning, but it is not a precise definition. But it is true that the application of games in learning environments is nowadays an approach that is in line with students' needs, interests and habits. And as a result, it usually engages students in the learning process. This is something that authors like Smith and Mann or G said at the beginning of the 21st century. So what are the main principles, the main ideas of GBL? Well, Chiquino in 2015 identified 6 key principles of GBL. And this author said that the intervention using GBL must promote critical thinking and problem-solving skills, then provide the appropriate amount of challenge with the idea of engaging and motivating learners, but without discouraging them, provide opportunities within the game or the games to encounter new learning and or construct their own knowledge and understanding based on that, present a fictional world or a scenario with the idea of constructing this content knowledge, include a social element, okay, especially if it's possible, some kind of interaction, and then provide learners with opportunities to succeed, to win the game, using different pathways. What are the intermediary outcomes that this author suggests regarding the implementation of GBL? Well, we have 4 key ideas. That first is engagement of students, then is collaboration among them. In general, this increase levels of classroom discourse because of this communication and collaboration, and finally, meaningful and authentic learning experiences that can facilitate deeper learning in students. Regarding intervention outcomes, there are also 4 key ideas that we should highlight. First, as we mentioned before, the idea of deeper knowledge and deeper understanding of content knowledge and understanding that can be applied to other contexts beyond GBL. Okay, so students can apply what they learn by using GBL to different situations. Then long-term and more deeply embedded knowledge and understanding of the content. Okay. And finally, increased critical thinking and problem-solving skills. So, some characteristics of effective GBL can be seen here in screen. So, for example, explicit goals so that the learners, the players, know what they're expected to do. Also, that they can make informed and meaningful choices to overcome the different challenges that are presented. Then, that the challenges adapt to the students' expectations and also capabilities, connecting to Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. Then effective feedback, and especially if it's a kind of continuous feedback, to measure this progress towards winning the game, sustaining engagement and motivation, consider failure as part of the game. Okay, the learning process is contextualized, and opportunities to apply knowledge and understanding of subject contents are provided. Then different types of dynamic, interactive and engaging activities should be included in GBL, and also fun and purposeful activities. And in all cases, safe and risk-free spaces, okay, where failure is another part of the game. Connecting GBL, mathematics and multilingual settings, it is true that the connection of GBL and mathematics has shown that GBL improves problem solving and knowledge acquisition, and also it reduces learner anxiety and negative attitudes toward maths. Also, the possibility of providing students with a meaningful and purposeful context to engage them and to apply mathematical concepts in a non-threatening, as we said, in a safe environment, also helps the acquisition, the development of mathematical content. Learners can construct their own meaning, okay, so the process of deeper learning happens, and it is also authentic and relevant content for them, because in general we can say that GBL is a student-centered approach. When talking about GBL and multilingual settings, it is true that nowadays Europe is experiencing an increase of multilingual pupils because of different reasons, as the migrant movements, the refugees, and the current crisis that we are facing. So we need to ensure an increased literacy and numeracy as a way to stimulate upward social mobility, and also to enable students to participate in workforce and economy. And this situation can avoid two main gaps that have been identified in research. First, the language gap and the digital gap, as it can be seen on screen. Moving now to GBL policies and implementation, our research question, our main purpose with this presentation has been to try to answer this question. What is the place of GBL within the curriculum of different European settings? So are there national guidelines or policies for how teachers should incorporate GBL in their practice? If so, what are these? And are there guidelines that say how teachers should incorporate GBL? And if so, what are these guidelines? For this, we have used critical policy analysis, okay, that suggests 5 critical practices, okay. First, CPA examines the difference between policy rhetoric and practice reality, and also interrogates the roots of this educational policy. It explores the distribution of things like power, resources, and knowledge. Is concerned with social stratification, which is also very important in connection to social justice. And finally, is interested in the nature of resistance or engagement regarding, the different policies from underrepresented groups. In general, CPA, when it's explored, we can say that CPA is essential in a democratic society, and can be used effectively to bridge the research and practice divide, the gap between research or theory and practice. That is what is really happening at schools. Okay, and it's also an effective tool to identify power structures, structures of oppression, and structures of inequality. So for the methodology, we have identified policy documents from 4 countries or contexts: Spain, the UK, Italy, and Flanders, that is a region in Belgium. And for that, we have considered government and educational providers. So, considering the initial findings that we have, we can say that there are no national guidelines or statutory policies for GBL across the different European contexts. There are key skills and competencies that are identified to develop learners' digital literacy skills. But it is true that as there are no specific guidelines or policies, teachers are those who decide when and how they use GBL within their classrooms. And in connection to mathematics, there's little or even no reference about the use of GBL for teaching this content. However, games and GBL are seen as an important methodology, and policies emphasize the value of play in the learning processes. Focusing on Spain, we can say that GBL resources should be seen as usual resources to support and enhance learning in mathematics, and GBL is used to provide practical examples. In the UK, teachers, including mathematics teachers, state that they use games and GBL to foster improved engagement and motivation. And it is considered a bottom-up approach. Regarding Italy, the national guidelines by the Ministry of Education states that games can be used to train logical thinking and direct analysis, and this can contribute to the development of maths, but also science and technology. And in Flanders, there are many guidelines and goals related to understanding how digital tools work, but teachers are completely free to choose how they teach in their classrooms. So, regarding the initial conclusions that we've taken, for the first question, are there national guidelines or policy for how teachers should incorporate GBL in their practice? And if so, what are these? GBL, we have found that is sometimes, but not always, mentioned. But in general, it remains very vague. There are no clear guidelines, no clear policies about it. And regarding the guidelines that say how teachers should incorporate them, there are no guidelines. Although in some contexts, in some cases, teachers are stimulated, are supported to use GBL in their lessons. But as we said, this is a preliminary piece of research, and further research is needed, to understand the connections between GBL, and in our case even more DGBL, with multilingual settings and mathematics. So thank you very much for your attention. Please, if you have any question, you can write an email to any of the addresses that you can see on the screen. And we will be more than happy to help you with this. So thank you very much, and we hope that you liked the presentation.